Shocking. Not at all what I expected to tell you. Hi guys, Sandy here, and today we're comparing two Baohong watercolor papers. The professional grade versus the student grade. Is it worth the price difference? Will we be able to tell one from the other? Is Baohong even a good brand to begin with? Let's find out. Okay, so these are my Academy blocks and I've been using them for some time now. As you can see, they've been well loved because, well, I love them. You know, they have truly changed the way I paint with watercolors. Granted, I used Canson and Excel before switching, so it's easy to notice the difference, but still, this paper is awesome. It is 100% cotton and very affordable when you compare it to most brands like ours, for example, at least where I'm from. I buy these off AliExpress and there always seems to be like a seller with a discount somewhere. Just so you can get an idea, I bought this tiny one for 9 euros and the bigger one, well, not that much bigger, but still for 14 euros, okay? For 20 sheets of paper each. And as you can see, you know, this is medium grain, cold pressed, it's 300 GSM, so 300 grams per square meter, and it comes in a block, meaning all sides are glued together, so you can add as much water as you want without having the paper warp, okay? Blocks are also usually more expensive than a regular pad. Now, one thing I've noticed in several comparison videos I've watched on YouTube by other creators is you will find more comparisons between Academy than the professional grade, you know, by far. In fact, you'll find several videos comparing the Academy paper with Arches, which is arguably the best watercolor paper out there, which is strange. So maybe the professional grade isn't available in the US as much. I don't know. If you do, if you know why this happens, please leave me a comment. I'd love to know. Now for the professional grade one, also known as Master's Choice, I haven't used it yet. All I did was remove the plastic from this tiny one and, you know, the protective sheet. And, you know, this one, the bigger one, is actually still wrapped. So let's unwrap this beauty. And there we go. And like I said, there's always some great prices available. So I also paid 9 euros for the smaller block and 14 for the bigger block. It was like, I think it was like a 15-cent difference between the Academy total and the Master's Choice total. And it also has 20 sheets of paper each, okay? I've checked and these are no longer the prices for the shops I bought any of these on, so there's really no point in sharing the shops, because the thing with AliExpress is you have to have the patience to look around, read the reviews, compare prices and shipping costs, ideally buy free shipping. So yeah, if I were to buy these now, I would just do a lot of research until I found the best price with the best reviews. But anyway, also 100% cotton, also 300 GSM, and also comes in a block. Unfortunately, unlike many other people I've seen using this paper, I did not get that lift tool thingy, you know, to unglue the sheet of paper from the block. So I'm just going to use this scoring bone tool I have for my paper crafts to detach it from the block. It's not actually too easy, you know, it doesn't get unglued that easily. You can totally put lots of water in it, but you know, easy enough. Now, putting the two next to one another, one thing is more than obvious, which is the texture. The professional grade is really, really textured. You know, if I didn't see the cover, I would totally say this is the coarse grain version, because this is insane. How are you supposed to draw a straight line? And this one is also really textured, but just not as much as this one. So the first main difference would be that. Okay, these aren't very well divided, but I think we'll be okay. Okay, so for this first bit, we're doing wet on wet, and we'll see how that goes. So, two. Now you want this to be shiny wet, but not pooling wet, okay? If it's pooling, it's too much water. If it doesn't shine, it just isn't water enough. And for today's video, I am using my Schminke Horadam 54 collection, and if you want to watch the unboxing of these ones, I have a really great video you will love. It was quite an adventure. Okay, this is either not wet enough. Let's try again with maybe a darker color. Ah, that's better. Wasn't wet enough. Let's watch them. Ooh, look at that. Look at those blooms. Those are really, really cool. Let's just keep going. Now, I have to say, it's not common at all to have student grade paper that's 100% cotton. So for that alone, you know, the Academy paper is one step above the rest in student watercolor papers. But I am expecting to see some major differences in these papers' performance that justifies, you know, the difference between student and professional grade. Now, I love the blossoms. These were really cool. Let's just add, you know, a few blooms on top of our wet paint and see how they do. Maybe dark red. Yeah, so that's actually a pink. Let's see. Some very controlled blooms. I like it, but you know, definite blooms nonetheless. These are really, really cool. So very controlled, very defined. They're still blooming away, so I like that. Not that much of a difference between the two, I would say. And speaking of wet on wet, I think this is the main difference I find between 100% cotton paper and the other types. You know, those nasty little puddles? Cotton paper absorbs water in a way that others just don't. Okay, so with Canson, it was all about the puddles and harsh lines, whereas with Academy, everything is just smoother, everything just looks better, okay? Like your watercolor skills just went up a notch or 10. I can't really explain it, it's something that I guess you'd have to experience for yourself, but it's awesome. Second bit, we're just going to paint and wait for it to dry. So we'll be able to do some lifting. This one, bright red. This color is very vibrant. Let's see how it behaves on both papers. Really, really vibrant. I love it. And I'm doing my best to use the exact same amount of paint for both of these. So hopefully that will go well. So as this dries, let me just explain. Lifting is when you try to remove paint from a dry section. Essentially, you'll add water to dry paint, and then with a wet brush or a bit of paper towel, you try and remove that paint. And guys, you know, if I'm honest, I had to go back and check if I was using the right paper. I mean, this is the Professional Master's Choice, and this is the Academy, and look. I mean, same paint. This one is much more perfect than this one. I'm not sure if it's about, you know, the ruggedness of, I don't know what's going on here. It's like there's this layer of white powder. This is very uneven compared to this one. This one is actually perfect, you know, perfect blob of red paint. But this one, I don't know, it's just kind of chalky. This isn't what I expected at all. If anything, I expected it to be the other way around, but you know, perfect texture, chalky. So yeah, so far the Academy is winning. Okay, let's lift. So water, and then we go. Yeah, really good lifting. Let's see with this one. Okay, both behaved well. Oh gosh, this is surprising me by the minute, guys. It's doing really, really well. Both of these are lifting. If anything, I would say the Academy lifted a little bit more than this one, but maybe it's just a contrast because the red is so strong for this one and this one not so much. But yeah, so far, I think it's pretty much a tie. So yeah, they're both very accommodating when lifting. I don't do a lot of lifting, I have to say, but yeah, good to know. You know, lifting is really handy for doing clouds and all sorts of textures, or to add some shades and light to your objects, like when you see an object With a white section, it's like there's a light hitting that area and shading all around it. It's a great way to turn your objects into 3D, if you will. Okay, so on the bottom, we are going to do a little bit of color blending and see where this goes. So you wet this again. We're keeping with the same colors, I guess, because these are working. So first we do the blue. Still a little bit dirty from the red. The blue, look at that. Beautiful paint control, I love it. And then we go down here for some wet, and then they meet. Let's see what happens. Again, red, and then they meet. You can force it a little bit. See where that goes. This one doesn't need to be forced, but we'll do it anyway. So really smooth mixing, which is exactly what you'd expect from good paper. We can see it both. I think this one is a little bit more expensive, but other than that, these two look pretty cool. Again, no winners here, guys. These are too similar to call as far as I'm concerned. Which actually confirms what I suspected. This brand really is a great option for beginner watercolor artists. Even professional watercolor artists, I'd say. Because you know, good quality watercolor paper is usually quite expensive. And that can really intimidate an artist, particularly when we're just starting out and the things we paint aren't exactly masterpieces. So you kind of have a choice to make. On one hand, you know that your work would improve hugely if you used good 100% watercolor paper. On the other, using expensive watercolor paper kind of makes you nervous because you know you're at that stage where you make mistakes, and it's not every day that things turn out the way you hoped. You know, a lot of days, everything we paint when we're just starting out is just bad. And that is exactly how it's supposed to be. There is no other way to improve other than to practice. And practicing often means mistakes and experiments. And that's actually the best way to learn anything in life, really. To fail, to make mistakes. And if you're making those mistakes on expensive paper a lot, soon enough, you'll end up putting off practicing because you just don't want to waste expensive watercolor paper. So for me, this brand, regardless of the version you pick, is the answer to that. Okay, it's looking good. So for our last section, we will be doing a little bit of layering. And that's when you paint one layer, wait for it to dry, and then go back for a second layer of paint. Let's just make sort of a leaf. Not really, but something to that effect. I definitely think I'm using more paint on the Academy. Now you either wait for it to dry or you use a heat gun like this one. Okay, and now we add a second layer over the first one. And I'm going for really bold colors, okay, which isn't the easiest one to layer, but you know, good paper, good paint. I'm sure this can take it. I hope it can take it. And you know, as far as layering goes, I have to say, you know, this suits both these papers perfectly. It's working great. It didn't reactivate the paint on the first layer, which is, you know, when you add wet paint, this color gets activated and then the colors just blend. That did not happen at all. And I had total control over this second layer of paint, and both colors are clearly separated. You know, you can see where one starts and the other begins, and the same thing here. So an interesting thing that I've noticed is for this one, as it dried, this one is chalkier than this one. So as of now, I'm completely confused. For these ones, yeah, this one is chalkier than this one. So this is clearly, you know, a user error. I clearly used more paint in this one than for this one, and maybe more for this one than this one. You know what? As far as testing goes, I think they are completely even. I cannot tell the difference. Apart from the texture, these two papers, you know, in quality terms, are pretty much alike. Before we complete our test and move on to painting, I want to stress test both these papers to see how sturdy they are. Do you know how with watercolor paper, particularly when just starting out and you're working the paint a lot and going back for more layers and the paper just starts to peel off, you notice these tiny little pieces of paper just getting mixed in with your paint? Yeah. We don't want that. And as a beginner watercolor artist, it's kind of a big deal to see how well this paper holds out. So let's just see if I keep, you know, maybe I'll do this one, sure. If I keep adding water and activating it, and more water and activating it, and maybe adding more paint, and just moving it a lot. I'm being really rough here, okay? Don't do these either to your brushes or your paintings. This does not work. But yeah, this one is holding on. No shedding whatsoever. I don't know how much longer I can do this. But wait, let me. Paint. It does not mess with the paper at all. I didn't think it would, to be honest. This paper is pretty thick and it really looks sturdy. Now let's see with this one. Gosh, am I ruining my brush? I may be ruining my brush. Let's see. Go, 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 go. Go, 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 go. I think we can stop. I think it's safe to say the paper is not giving in anytime soon, which is wonderful, wonderful news for beginner watercolorists. Okay, let me just add one final test that I've been thinking about since the moment I saw this texture, which is to draw. Let's see how the lines work. So, just a quick leave. Okay. 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 Not as bad as I thought after you get used to it. This leaf was a little bit more of a struggle for sure. But once you get used to it, it's not really that bad. Not that bad at all. Okay guys, let's see what we've got so far. I'd say it's definitely a tie. It just is, okay? I expected the Master's Choice colors to be slightly more vibrant. You know, even though, like I said, I probably didn't use the same amount of waters and paint for both, but I expected this to look better, you know, somewhat better. It didn't need to be a lot better, but somewhat, and I just don't see that. And the baby powder stuff, you know, your guess is as good as mine. Okay, now something that's a little bit of a test on its own is how easy or how hard it is to remove the tape. I have been known to rip some Academy paper while removing the tape. Hopefully the Master's Choice will be sturdier, but I don't know. Let's see. I'm not being gentle about it. I'm lifting it up, which you should not do. You know, the right way to rip tape off is to keep it as close to the paper as possible, like this, but I'm just gonna do it. Go ahead and do it. It survived. So cool. Let's see this one. Oops. This one is first. Again, not being too careful about it, lifting it vertically, all the things you should not do, and they're both perfect. Okay, so now that this is nice and dry, let's just detach the sheets from the block so we can look at the back of the sheet to see if they're the same or not. Just another thing to test out, because sometimes they're not. So let's just do this, see how easy it is to detach. Again, not too easy, but easy enough that we don't ruin it on this one. Okay, let's just turn these around. Oh, guys, this is interesting. Oh, okay. So the Academy I knew was pretty much the same, front and back. Yeah, you can totally use both sides. You won't notice, well, maybe a slight difference. Yeah, I use both sides all the time, particularly when I'm practicing, you know, no need to waste paper. The front is a little bit more rugged. Let's see, maybe side by side here. I'm not being very clever about it. Let's see, you see this one is slightly more rugged, but not that much. But this is interesting. The professional grade is much smoother in the back than it is in the front. Okay, so what's left for us to do? Now, of course, we paint. And I'm going to paint them at the same time. Well, I'm not going to be painting them at the same time, you know, with your left and your right hand. I'll paint one first, the other next. But as far as you're concerned, you'll see both of them appearing on the paper at the same time. You don't have to wait it out until I do one and then go for the other. You can see both of them happening exactly at the same time. Okay, here we go. And there we have it, guys, our two Baohong papers tested and compared. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind you could do a lot worse as far as watercolor papers are concerned than with these two. I would also say that what separates one from the other is much more of a personality trait than it is a quality difference. These are both very good 100% cotton papers. You'll be able to create some wonderful paintings without having to worry about how much that sheet of paper actually cost. Overall, I highly recommend them both. But if by next time I need to buy watercolor paper and they are still similarly priced, I would have no idea what to do. Quite honestly, you know, for me, it's a tie. And if anything, maybe the Academy, I don't know. I really don't. You know I haven't painted both exactly alike. You know, that's just what happens. But tell me, between these two, which one would you pick? You know what? Just leave me a comment letting me know which one of these do you think did best. Because for me, I cannot decide. But if I'm honest, probably Academy, which is weird and surprising and not at all what I expected to come here to tell you. When I look at these comparisons, yeah, I think it was this red that sold me. But here also, you know, the blue, These, granted, this color, I mixed this a lot darker than this one, so this one doesn't really count. But you know, the blue, the indigo, and the purple, yeah, I like this one better. Shocking. Not at all what I expected to tell you. So maybe this is the reason why there aren't as many videos comparing, you know, Master's Choice with art, but Academy with art. Now we know, right? So yeah, I think that unless for some miracle Master's Choice becomes cheaper than the Academy, I am very pleased with my Academy, as I have been for the last couple of months. Guys, thank you for doing this with me. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I know I did a lot. I will see you really, really soon. Bye bye.